Hello, everyone. Good morning to all. Shankar Prasad, sir, are you ready with your students? I believe there are a lot of students there who are attending this session. So, welcome to all the students who are joining all the way from different parts of India, especially students of Shankar Prasad, sir, whose special request was to conduct this session for the students there. So, Sangam tutorials, right? So, that's a very good sign that early morning there are so many students gathered there. So he had sent me a picture of a large auditorium which is filled with students, right? So this is from Gubi in Karnataka, right? So I want to welcome all those students, especially to the students who have joined from Sangam Tutorials Gubi, and also students who have joined from different parts of India, Pi Academy, students of Don Bosco School, and all the educators who have joined as well for this session. So thank you once again, Shankar sir, for inviting me for this session, and I hope that it's going to have a little bit of impact on our students who are preparing, especially for the board exams. Although this session is going to be useful for all the students who want to excel in mathematics, right? So I already got some very good mornings. So on that note, I would like to start the session. And if the initial part is, of course, to remove the fear of mathematics, because that's what is very important. Maths has to be our friend. So that's Shankar sir welcoming. So thank you, sir. Thank you for organizing this session. And we are going to have this session in roughly about 40 to 45 minutes, and then I'll be taking your questions. If the students are having any questions regarding mathematics, they can ask in preparation or in any aspects as well. So thank you so much. So we are going to begin with the session that is striving to excel in mathematics, how to get 90%, 95% more, or at least strive for excellence, because that's what is important. The striving part. We should have an aim. So the first thing is that, see, every one of us will have our weakness. We have a strength, we have our weakness, and we are able to identify our weakness. Then that is the first step. So there are many topics given in your NCERT textbook. Always start with the basics, start with your NCERT, and then go one after the other. Don't do too many books at the same time. Whatever your mentor is telling, whatever your teacher is telling, try to do that one book at a time. Plenty of books is going to create confusion, or the material has to be organized in such a way that you don't find it very tough, right? So the main thing is to identify your weakness. So the first thing that we do is identify our weakness, and then how to rectify it. Identification of the weakness is one thing, and how to rectify is the second stage. So we should know what are our problems. Are we having problem in trigonometry? Are we having problem in statistics? Are we having problem in word problems? Identify that and keep on practicing that regularly, because whatever said and done, the old proverb still holds good: practice makes a man perfect, right? There is no shortcut. We cannot do mathematics by just by reading. There are many students who read these books and then they think that they know, but when the exam time comes, they are unable to do these questions, right? So why does that happen? It happens because of lack of practice. So whatever you are doing, the most important thing is to start with the basics. Start with very simple sums on that topic. So you know that you are weak in a particular topic, trigonometry. Start with the basics, the formulas, the identities. Learn up that, and then after that, start with basic simple questions. Don't go to complex question directly, leaving NCERT. Some people start doing exemplar and reference books XYZ. So that shouldn't happen. So it's important that we are starting with the basics, and it's important that we understand what we do. Don't try to mug up things, right? So on this note, welcome to all the participants who have joined from different parts of India and probably across the globe. And as I said, uh, we have to identify our weakness and start practicing that. And as I said, the most important thing, start with the basics. Unless the base is clear, we cannot. So if you want to grow a tree, the tree, it cannot be planted directly, right? First, a small seed has to be planted. For a number of months, probably the seed doesn't grow. You may think that results are not coming. Don't get discouraged, because what will happen, the seed will grow when there is proper water, manuring, your mentors, your reference books, your online trainings, whatever you are receiving, all that is going to add to your success. And once the plant starts growing, then in no time it becomes a tree. So don't worry about the initial part. The initial part is the toughest part, right? To make that mindset there that yes, I want to score good marks. That is very important. So once we are done with that, then only we can go to the next. So whenever we are having complex problems, I always tell the students to break it up into parts. You have to break it up. So if you are thinking in terms of a total problem, there are many parts, divide into many parts. So let's say example, you are doing a quadratic equation. Now there are many students, when we get a quadratic equation, I'm talking in terms of class 10, let's say, if you are getting a quadratic, the first thing people try to do is, they start to factorize it, split the middle term and so on. So if you break the problem, it is quite possible that when you find the discriminant, b square minus 4ac, that formula, the discriminant could be negative, and then as far as class 10 is concerned, these are unreal roots and you don't have to solve it. So you are trying to solve questions probably which doesn't have real roots at all, right? And so therefore it is important that we break the problem. First, find the nature of the roots. Okay, is it equal to 0? Is it greater than 0? Is it less than 0? Yes, if it is equal to 0, then we'll have equal roots. And if we are having greater than 0, you'll have real and distinct. And if it is less than 0, then it will be unreal, right? So we should be able to classify that very clearly. And breaking the problem also helps us to get step marking, right? So if you're able to identify the question and break it into parts and do it, then we will be getting the marks for the steps. Don't hesitate to take the help of your teachers, your mentors. Okay, like for example, Shankar sir is your mentor and he is guiding you in the best possible way. He is giving you a lot of exposure to a lot of material by inviting resource persons, by conducting sessions. So always a good mentor is going to save you lots and lots of time. You will be spending 10 hours in finding a material, your mentor will give it to you in 1 hour. Okay, because the mentor or the teacher has got experience of teaching so many students. So they know that what are the type of mistakes that students do, what are the types of questions that come in the exams. So you have to be exam oriented. The study has to be exam oriented so that you get high marks. So if you do randomly 15 books, then what happens is that there are some students who will be able to do only those questions which they have done before, right? If you give them a new problem, they will not be able to do that. What is the reason for that? The reason is very simple, that when you are trying to memorize questions, you will never get the answers, right? You will never get the answers. How do we get the answers? Is by doing it, by understanding it, right? So so what is important is to understand that we need to get help. So it is not that you are stuck with some problem and you are spending days and nights over it. That's very good, probably, if you have time. But then it's always a good idea to get help, not for the solution, because the worst thing that anybody can do is to give a solution that you can find in any reference book, or you can also find from some online classes as well, video recordings, etc. So what is important for us is to understand that what sort of help should we give to our students. So when we are mentors and teachers, we always tell to help them to think in a particular way, right? We always help them to think in a particular way, right? So if you are thinking in the right direction, then probably the student is able to get the answer. So looking in the right direction is important. For example, the best example comes in Mahabharata, right? When Dronacharya asks Arjun what does he see, he says that I am able to see that particular thing only, and then he shoots the arrow and hits, and he's asking all the other students, they are seeing the trees and the birds and the fruit and everything. So when you are having a set target, then only will you be able to achieve that. And who gives you that target? The target can be self-motivated. You are inspired enough to set that target. Your parents can be a motivating factor, or in majority of the cases, it is your teacher or mentor who gives you that target. They know your potential and say, okay, right now you are scoring 70, you can go up to 80. You are scoring 80 now, you can go to 90. You are scoring 90 now, you can go up to 100. So they'll set those targets. So once the target is set, it is easier to achieve that. If we have no targets, then what will happen? That is, it's almost impossible to achieve. So setting of a target is very important. Whenever a session starts, if any of my students are here, they will obviously agree with me when I say, whenever I say, start the class, I always, at the beginning of the year, I tell the students that what is the aim, that what is your aim, how much do you want to score, you write down in your notebook, because that is a reminder that you have to score that much, right? It is a reminder for you to, and then you will work accordingly. So if you are not having any aim, then what is going to happen is that you will get whatever you do at the end of the year, and there is no target for you, then you don't get the marks that you desire, right? So one thing is, desire is one thing, and then working towards that aim is another thing. You will get a lot of online help. I don't want to name any particular channels, but there are a lot of people. At our times, probably 20, 30 years back, there was no online help. We used to rack our heads for the solution. Teachers, our school teachers probably were the only people who could help us. Now you have so much online resources. You don't understand something, then you can always take a video lesson from somewhere. Somebody has taught in a particular, all languages are available, different styles are available. All these online help you can get. You can listen to those videos again and again to understand the concept. There are a lot of good books available. So as I said, don't buy too many books, but simple NCRT, that is the basic, and then the NCRT is also an advanced book called the Exemplar for tougher questions. And then of course you do a lot of sample papers and so on, right? So it's important that we go stepwise. And as I said, we have to visualize this. We have to visualize ourselves getting 100% or 90% or 60%, because unless we visualize, we set a target, we are not going to achieve that. A target is very, very important. Unless that target is there, we are not going to achieve it. That's a fact. So in your notebook, if you are having, always write down there, my aim is to score 100%. Okay, that's called a vision board technique. So every day when I'm looking at that board, or wherever you study, you put up a poster, my aim, then that aim reminds you that you cannot rest till you get that aim, right? So the aim is very important. Unless that aim is there, we will not be able to achieve. Stay positive, connect to real life. That's very important. Throughout our journey of academics, there will be failures. I am not saying that there will not be failures. You may get less marks in one or two tests, but it hardly matters in the race of life. In the race of life, the beginning is important, but how you end the race is important. Okay. So the race that we are running at the moment is not a 100-meter dash. It's a marathon race. So in a marathon, the speed doesn't matter. What matters is your stamina, right? So there are a lot of students who are studying from class 6, 7, 8. They're working very, very, very hard for the IITs and so on. And by the time it's actual time to study in 11th and 12th, they are tired. So it is important that you peak at the right moment, right? You have to stay positive, and basics have to be clear. Because as I gave the example of the tree is going to shoot up once your foundation is very good. If the foundation is weak, then the tree will grow up, and probably when a wind comes, it falls down, right? If the foundation is strong, then you are rock solid. So always stay positive. Even if there are a few setbacks, you don't get good marks, don't worry about it. Don't think that maths is not your cup of tea. Stay positive and work for it, right? And always try to connect whatever you're studying to real life. So if you're studying about arithmetic progression or linear equation or statistics or trigonometry, try to find out where it is used. Because one of the main questions that students ask me is that, sir, where do we use this particular topic? Why are we studying this? And if we are able to understand, okay, trigonometry is used here, quadratic is used here, linear equation is used here, arithmetic progression. So every topic in maths is related to real life. In fact, all the sciences cannot be done without maths. So maths is the father of all sciences. Okay, I'm not saying that because I'm a maths teacher, but at the same time, without maths, you will find a lot of difficulty in the sciences as well, right? So you will have problems in the physics and chemistry, numericals if you don't know maths. So it is important and relate to real life. Every day without mathematics, nothing can be done. You are going to the market to buy stuff. You are going to a bank. You are paying your taxes. Whatever phase of life that you see, you are calling a contractor, getting it whitewashed. All this involves money, calculations, perimeters, area, banking, taxation, investments. All these things are related to mathematics and calculations. And if you learn more and more in depth, then every topic will have a practical aspect as well. There is no topic without a practical aspect. If there is a topic without practical aspect, probably then that is only to increase your logic and creativity, right? So main thing is to be patient and stay organized. If we are not patient, we want fast results. The young generation today, they want fast. Sir, marks are not coming, I'm studying very hard. Have patience, it will come. You may fail once, you may fail twice, you may fail thrice, but at some point of time you are going to get success. At least you will get the satisfaction that you have done your best, and at some point of time success will be yours. But if you are saying that, okay, see, I tried it 3 times, 4 times, now I am not going to achieve my target, then obviously you are not going to achieve it, right? So there is a story of Taimur the Lame. If you have heard about it, he goes to a war, he loses, he goes to another war, he loses, he goes to another war, loses. Then he said that I'm losing every time, but uh, so I'm not going to for the next fight. Then he sees a spider. The spider was weaving a web, and then what happens? While making the web, the spider falls down, and then after some time, you find that the spider again goes up, again makes the web. This happens 2 times, 3 times, and when it is on the fourth time, the web is made. So Taimur says that even a small insect is not losing patience, trying again and again, and then so the insect is not losing patience. I am a human being. God has been very, very merciful and compassionate to me. So if an insect can try 4 times, why not me? And then he goes to war and he wins that war. Okay, so you'll have hundreds and thousands of example, inspiring and motivation stories all around. So important thing is to stay organized, be patient, right? Always take notes. Whenever somebody is speaking to you, okay, in your maths classes, don't sit down and listen. Okay, because what happens is that the brain is not able to store everything. However intelligent or high IQ you have, over a period of time, a short term memory, long term memory, right? So you will be understanding everything at this point of time. After some time you tend to forget. So always important to jot down the important points. So when sir is teaching you or ma'am is teaching you somewhere, and you try to make notes. So when we take classes, normally there is a question, sir, do we have to copy this? So always copy down, because your written notes you can refer at any point of time. So while teaching, they will tell you so many mnemonics, shortcut methods, different methods. So do that. And then you can try by your own method. That's another thing. But whatever the teacher or the mentor or you find online or in any reference book, write it down. Taking notes is very important. And of course, for without formulas, there is no mathematics, right? So this is one important thing, that you say that I know everything but I don't know the formula. So that becomes a big problem, because without formula we can't. So suppose you want to find the surface area of a cone, right? And you don't know that curved surface area of a cone is pi rl, then you are in soup. Soup means you will not be able to do the question, although with the formula you are able to calculate. But without the formula you will not be able to calculate. So this becomes a problem, right? So all these are issues which we have to deal, and this comes by writing. Some people say that I cannot learn the formula, so write it down 5 times, 10 times, 15 times, 20 times, because writing improves memory. Writing always improves memory. And if you do not write, you just try to mug up by hiding, and somebody is asking you, it may work in the short term, but in the long term it is not going to, because you will forget it. So write down, right? So this is what we have to do. The first thing is to write and practice. Without writing, we cannot. It's like, cycling. Unless we sit on the cycle and then learn, we cannot learn cycling. We cannot read a book on cycling and cycle, right? Same for swimming. We cannot read a book on swimming and swim. And if we want to swim, we have to dive into the water. We may, take help with the rubber tubes, or we may drown a few times and our coach has to help us. That's okay. So it's important that we write, because without writing, nothing happens. Secondly, the second part involves a review and practice. Now, when I'm talking about review, that is revision. Okay, the first part is your study, second part is your revision. You can revise individually or in groups. Now, you have to decide what works for you. Do you have a good study group? Then go for good study groups. If your study group is making you distracted, they're talking all rubbish, or they talk other things besides academics, then you are wasting your time. Okay, you are sitting down in a group 6 hours and then the result is negative, then don't go for the study individually. But there are some groups where each person will contribute something, because everybody is good at something. Okay, somebody is good at calculation, somebody is good at derivation, somebody is good in understanding the question. So if you have such side of people who will help you in becoming a better person in mathematics, then go into those study groups, you will benefit. So that I totally leave up to you, when to study, how to study, individually, groups, morning, afternoon, evening. That all depends on your body clock and how you want to do it. But important thing is to practice. So whether you are doing individually, morning, night, afternoon, whatever, that hardly matters. What is important is that you practice. And practice cannot be done orally. It has to be done by writing. And you have to use technology, right? So technology is coming at a fast pace in our lives. So take help of technology. That means if we are not able to do a particular question, try to find out the solution, how it is done. From different sites, you can find out what is the solution. Go for the best possible solution, right? Best possible solutions. Take breaks. There are people who are, studying for 2 hours, 3 hours without breaks. So what happens is that when you don't take breaks, your mind gets tired. And then what happens when your mind gets tired? Then you are not able to study, and what you study you don't understand. So the parents will think, oh my god, my child is studying for 3 hours, 4 hours, but marks are not coming. Now in those 3-4 hours, what is the child's thinking about? Thinking about some games. In the evening they have to go for some games, or they have some get together, that or some in the with the friends, they have some talk. Are they thinking about that, or are they actually studying? So our mind cannot focus for a long period of time, right? So it's important that we take breaks. So you study for 2 hours, take a break, 15 minutes break. You study for another 1 hour, take a 15-minute break. So it's important that we take breaks, because the mind needs rest. Continuously we cannot sit down, because then we get tired and we may also get sick. It's important that we maintain our physical health, because health is wealth, right? Whatever said and done, the most important thing in our life is to take rest, and there should be a lot of energy. Without energy, if you are very sick, then learning doesn't happen, right? Learning doesn't happen. Why learning doesn't happen? Because if you are tired, the thing that our body tells you is to sleep, right? You have to recover. When you are sleepy, when you are not well, you have cough, you have cold, you have fever, you have some pain in some body part, then the body tells you, don't study now, rest. So what happens? You have to keep yourself physically active through yoga, through exercises, by eating good food, not junk food, nutritious food. Keep yourself healthy, and then you will be able to study. Okay. Prayer is another form. Meditation is another form. Keep your mind cool and relaxed. Okay. Only focus in your mind should be that I have to score good marks, right? So these are very, very important things that we need to keep in mind. So, next part. Now, how can we become better? We are already good, probably. I don't know. There are some students who may be in 40, 50, 60, 70, different students we have joined us today. It doesn't matter actually. What is important is let the magic begin. I can give you n number of examples of students I taught, or there are some friends of mine and their teachers used to tell them, nothing is going to happen to you, dear child. You have failed in maths and nothing is going to happen. And that person today is a mathematics professor in Delhi University. Can you believe that? The teacher in the entire period where she was studying in her school told her that nothing is going to happen in maths for you because you are failing. You have failed in this subject. You are getting single digit marks. Nothing is going to happen. And that person is a professor in Delhi University teaching mathematics to students. So, how contradictory is that? Right? So, you can never believe someone who says something like that because you don't know how life treats you, how you are going to improve from that situation. There are lots of students personally whom I have come across who are very average, getting 40, 50, but with little bit of motivation. And of course, the most important thing is the perseverance of the child. Teacher plays only 10% role. 90% is your determination to excel. And if you are determined, then there is a very, very good chance of getting very good marks, right? So they are all getting about 90%. So there has to be a, it's like a magic wand which comes in your life. And when so suddenly one fine day, there's a turning point in your life that from today onwards, so from today onwards, this is going to happen. So how does that come? By challenging yourself. It doesn't come, okay, I feel like sleeping for 3 hours. I don't feel like getting up in the morning. Let me sleep for that on a Sunday morning. Who will get up? So if you have these type of thoughts, then you will never. So there, for everything, there has to be a profit and loss. If you want to gain something, then you have to lose something. So if you want to gain in your academics, probably 1 hour of sleep you have to sacrifice. But I'm not saying that you don't sleep at all, okay? Because 8 hours of sleep is important for students because you are young kids, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, and therefore 8 hours is. But don't sleep for 10 hours and 11 hours. I know of people, students who are sleeping till 10 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning, and not getting up. So this should be avoided. Or sleeping in the afternoon for 3 hours. So please remember to take 7 or 8 hours of sleep. That's important. But then if you want to challenge yourself, the first thing that you have to do is to give up on your whatever little luxuries that you have. Okay, outdoor games are important, but you can sacrifice on your mobile gaming, or you can sacrifice on your TV, or you can sacrifice on your phone calls. Some things can be avoided. So that is how we all the sportsmen, if they have achieved something, it is because of their determination and hard work. Same with academics, right? So challenge yourself. You have to do something extra. If you keep doing the stuff that you have been doing over a period of time, nothing is going to change. If you want to change something, then obviously the change has to set in. The change in routine has to be there. If there is no change in routine, then how are we going to expect something better? You continue to do the same things over and over again, you will continue to get the same marks. So if I want better marks, what should I do? I should change my routine. And how does that happen? By challenging ourselves, by setting higher targets. So last year my target was getting 80%. This year my target is to get 95%. Next year my target is to get 100%. So your target has to increase. If you are saying that, oh, I am happy with 90, and ultimately you will be happy with 90, you cannot cross that. You are happy with 60, happy, right? So your happiness will come from your target. So first let's try to understand what is our target. So moving on, find your learning style. This is a very, very common thing that, because I have seen or heard many parents saying, get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and study. Or you do one thing, you don't sleep, you stay back because all the family members are sleeping at 10 o'clock, you study from 10 to 1. We have all sort of parents and social setups. I don't know, different family setups and beliefs are different. So not going too much into it, but then you have to know your learning style. It's important that you know that when can you study better. Are you able to study in the night? Then study at night 10 to 1. If you are, if you think that that's a very good time for you to study, then do that. If normally when we were kids, our parents used to say get up early in the morning, 4 o'clock, and then study till 6 o'clock, 4 to 6. So some of us are able to do, some of them are not able to do. So I think we need to find our learning style. It's important that we are getting, but the important thing is to spend time without getting tired, without taxing yourself, without falling sick. without discomfort. The academic should not be a burden. It should be something which should give you joy, especially maths. Maths, I find, is so enjoyable that even while listening to music, I can do maths. Okay. Even when I'm traveling, I can do maths. I'm sitting on a train, I can do maths. Even when I'm doing a lot of tasks, I can multitask with maths. The reason being that you are not memorizing maths, you are solving questions. And believe me, the joy of getting an answer in mathematics is unparalleled. Okay, there is a question and you get the right answer. The amount of joy you get, I don't know how many of you get, but as passionate educators and students, I have seen that, sir, I have got the right answer, I have got the right answer. All these children are shouting in the class, right? So this is what happens. There should be joy when you get an answer. So then the challenge comes. Okay, I have done this, I have done this, let me do this, let me do this. Otherwise, if you, it's a drudgery means, if suppose you are it's a formality. You get up in the morning, you have to brush your teeth, that's a formality, right? You have to have a bath, that's a formality. Studying should not be a formality, it is something for ourselves. It is something for ourselves. You should feel happy about it, right? Stay focused. In today's time, there are so many distractions. There will be so many people saying, why are you studying the whole year? Last 3 months you study, that is enough. Or you see your friends playing some games outside your house, let me join them, forget about studies. Or some people will say, don't study, let's do some business. That is very lucrative. Studying, what will you get? Nothing. All these are will take you away from your focus areas. So it's important that you stay focused on your goal, right? The goal is important. So when it's like a football game, if you just kick the ball anywhere, you don't get any points. The goal is scored only by the player who puts that ball between the goalpost, right? There's a particular area. The ball has to go past, then only you get your points. Right? So that focus is very, very important. Yeah, so stay focused, and then what happens is, stay motivated. It's important to stay motivated, because they say that motivation doesn't last. Today I'm taking a session, many of them may be motivated, many of them may be saying, oh, what is this man saying, we all know this. That, so if out of 100 people 10 people are motivated, good enough. But this motivation doesn't last long, right? So that after 1 week, some people will start forgetting what I said. After 20 days, another half 50% will forget. So it doesn't last. So what happens is that, neither does bathing, right? We have a bath daily. So is it that once we have a bath, then we are clean and then we don't have to bath at all? No, every day that is required. So same with motivation. Motivation is recommended daily. So listen to people who give you good advice. Okay, so you have mentors like Shankar sir with you, who's motivating you continuously to do things, right? So he traveled all the way to Delhi for a session, All India Educators Forum. So it was important for him to get connected to the other educators across India. So he made that effort. He could have sat there and done some online trainings and then be happy about it. And he is doing so good work there with the students and educators across India. So, but he made it a point to travel, find out more, so that he can give back to his students more. So that is how we are functioning, right? So we can be in our comfort zone, be happy about it, and not think about anything else. And the second is to come out of our comfort zone to do things differently, right? So you will find many people in this world who are very ordinary people but doing extraordinary things, right? If you, whether you are in a village or a city or wherever in the world, very ordinary people doing ordinary things but in an extraordinary way. The important thing is to get started. If you don't start, then you will never finish, right? So if it is a long road and you don't know what is your destination, don't worry, take one step at a time. It's like you take a torch across a jungle. The whole end of the road you cannot see, but can you see the first few steps? Yes. And that's what is important. As we move through the road, it's important that we take our first few steps. And then as we take the steps, what will happen? We will reach our destination, that is the end of the road. And then what happened? There is no end. You will get a new destination, right? So you may reach the end of that particular road, but then another road starts, then another road starts. It will keep on going to infinity, right? So stay motivated and keep focused. And as I told you, the beauty of power of maths is to relate it to real life. So we know that everything in the universe is connected. You know about the golden ratio, right? Every part of the human body is based on the golden ratio. So you see the flower petals, they are based on the arithmetic progressions. You look at the shell of turtles, right? And there are so many things that can be identified in nature. And when we realize that maths is so powerful, so beautiful, then we start loving it. Because see, there are two things. Let me be very frank. You have to love it. It cannot be forced. Okay, it's like food. If you like idli, you will enjoy your breakfast. If you don't like idli, your mama has to force the idli to you, right? So are we doing mathematics by force, or are we trying to love it? So if we love it, what happens when you are being forced with that food? The food will get digested, but it will not become part of your body. Your body is not accepting it. Probably all the nutrients are not being absorbed because you are being forced. Then what happens if you are eating that idli with lot of, I love my idli like that. And then what happens is that your body is absorbing the nutrients and you become healthy, and all the the nutrients of the idli or dosa or vada or chole bhature, whatever you are eating, or fruits, will go into your body and you become healthy. Same with maths. If somebody is forcing you, and your teacher is just going blah blah blah, you are listening from one ear and from the other ear the instruction goes, you don't care about it, then it's not going to become part of your system. But if you are taking an interest for it, you love the subject, then what happens? Everything that is being told to you, you absorb and you start unknowingly using it in your real life. Unknowingly, right? So that's important. So first thing that we have to do in order to love this is to go through all the theorems and formulas, because as I said, in the exam you cannot refer, right? There is no reference. So when there is no reference, you have to know your theorems, you have to know your formulas. And if you don't know the formula, you try to derive it. Everything has a derivation. So once you know, okay, oh, this is how the distance formula is derived, or this is why the area of a square is side square, or this is why a plus b whole square is a square plus b square plus 2ab, then what happens? I am going to understand it better, right? So it's important. So finally, what I would like to say is that revise your NCERT thoroughly. There is no better book than NCERT. Always do that, because there are many students who jump to big books, reference book, without doing the NCERT. Do the NCERT thoroughly, each and every question. And not only talking about mathematics, if you talk about any subject, the NCERT is very important. And do not leave out any questions from NCERT, including the solved examples. All read everything, because now MCQ is also coming. In the MCQ, they can ask you anything from those written portion, the theory portion. So it's important that you read through that. Okay, so suppose I ask you, what is a constant polynomial? What is a zero polynomial? What will be your answer, right? So these are things which you should know. So linear polynomial is there, quadratic polynomial is there, cubic, but very few people know what is constant polynomial and zero polynomial, because there was no question based in the exercise. But if you go through the textbook, it's written there what is zero polynomial and constant polynomial, isn't it? So what is the degree of a constant polynomial? What is the degree of a linear polynomial? What is the degree of a constant polynomial? So these are things which will help you to understand mathematics better. Because the MCQs are very tricky, because I have seen very good students, they're able to do all the 2, 3, 4, 5 mark questions, and then where are they losing in the MCQs? Because they didn't read, they are busy concentrating on the solution of the sums, not concentrating on these small things. What is fundamental theorem of arithmetic? Okay, they don't know. They are solving very tough questions, but don't know what is fundamental theorem of arithmetic, which is given in the textbook, right? Or what is the empirical formula in statistics? when you are connecting mean, median, and mode. So if you concentrate only on the exercise, what happens is that you're missing out on these small things from which MCQ comes. And now you know that the board is also giving competency-based questions. So competency-based questions means you have to understand the basics. From that, if you lose, see, MCQ, there is no step marking. Either you know it or you don't know it. So out of 20 MCQs, if you don't know 3 or 4, gone, 4 marks gone, then your 100 is lost, right? So all the bigger questions, I know many of the good students are putting a lot of emphasis and focus, but they are losing out on these small 1 mark questions. Assertion reasoning, case-based questions. These are some areas where we have to focus. And how will I do that? By solving sample papers. Okay. So sample papers, you do 10 papers, 15 papers, 20 papers with timing. Because many of you, what you are doing is you are solving question, but you're not timing. So right now it's the beginning of the year, so you have time. So if you, let's say you're finishing your course by October or November, so let's say after that, so exams are approximately in March. So let's say 3 months, December, January, February. At that point of time, when you've finished your course, start solving sample papers. Now, sample papers means you have to solve the entire question paper in 3 hours, because that's the time that board gives you to complete your paper. So are you able to do in 3 hours those questions? That's important, because you may not time yourself and you are coolly doing it in 4 hours. Or you may be doing 10 questions now. After half an hour, you're doing 10 questions. You're not timing yourself. So how are we going to get practice in those 3 hours? Because time is also very important. You're not getting unlimited time to solve the questions, right? So when you solve the sample paper, time yourself and see out of those questions, how many questions you were not able to do. Which are the type of questions that you are not able to do? Make a note about that. And then you will understand that how I will be able to solve those questions. So you do 10 papers, 20. Normally, I tell my students to do about 25 sample papers, because we have 3 months, December, January, February. So maybe about 10 papers in a month can be done. So 10 or 8 papers, and you will be able to finish about 25 to 30 papers in 3 months. So that's good enough practice, December, January, February. So sample paper. And then give a lot of tests. There are many students who are not giving tests. Tests are very integral part of learning, because many times what we think is that we know everything, but when the test comes, so many times during the PTMs, parents have told me that he studies for 3 hours, he does for 4 hours, he has done all the sample papers. Then I ask, has he given any tests? Have you given him any tests, or has he taken any self-assessment test? The answer is 99% no. Okay, he goes to a tuition center. Is there tests happening there? No. So this is the problem. So unless we are tested, then what happens is that we think that we know. So the tests have to be there in the same pattern as the exams. Okay, it's important that we give the same test as per the pattern of the exams. So if you're giving a class 10 examination, that pattern paper has to be done. How many times? 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. So you will realize that in the first test out of 80, you are probably getting only 55, and you were thinking that you know everything. Next test you may get 60, 65, like that. And then we identify our weakness, and then we can correct it, right? So on this note, I want to say that love mathematics, let it be your friend, is someone who is your companion for life. Okay, because learning is not that you are finishing 12th or college and it's over. We learn till our death. Okay, and as most people say, that learning never stops. We will continuously start. So nobody can say I am perfect, I know everything, however good or however he may be a doctorate in the subject, but still the learning never stops. Continuous learning. So continuous learning will happen once you love it. Otherwise we'll stop it, and then we forget about the whole thing, right? So if you ask any random person about a class 9 or 10 maths problem, they say that I haven't done it in the past 20 years. So forgot, right? So unless we use it, it goes up. So the very simple thing, the proverb is use it or lose it. So if you don't use it, you will lose it, right? So use, and then you will gain. The more you use, the sharper your knife becomes, right? So if you don't use the knife, it becomes blunt and it's become useless. It gets rusted. So the brain is also similar. The more we use our brain, the more active it becomes. The neurons get activated, the interlinking happens. So you can increase your capacity, you can increase your stamina, you can increase your speed, you can increase your creative thinking, logic, everything. But it has to be your friend, and you need to love the subject. That's important. Thank you. So as I said, the session I will take for 45 minutes. So I have exactly 45 minutes. I'm stopping. And if there are some questions right now, so I'll be happy to answer those. So next 5 minutes, I am open to questions. So Shankar sir, if your students are having any questions, then you can put it in the chat, or they can put it in the chat, or anybody who's listening to this session right now, I'm inviting them to ask any questions, and I'll be happy to answer them. So if there are no questions, then I will be closing this session. And I want to thank all those who took out time on a Sunday morning to join me in this session. And I hope that you got some useful tips. Thank you so much, and have a nice day. So let me see if there are some questions in the chat. Okay, so I got one question here, that can a student, yeah, so can a student who has scored 60% get 100%? So it's a very random question. So the question is saying that if a student is getting 60, can he get up to 100? So why has the student got 60? I don't know the circumstances. Probably the student did not study at that point of time, and then he got, or probably the child did not get proper guidance. That is why he scored 60. And probably the child did not have aptitude in maths. So there are different factors. So I cannot say yes or no unless we know the student. But yes, I have seen students getting 60, 70, reach up to about 90% by their hard work, perseverance, and good guidance. So it is not impossible. Whether you get even 30, 40%, you can reach up to that level. That is for sure. Because I remember an incident in my personal life in class 7 where I just managed barely to pass 33%, right? And in class 10 boards, I got a perfect 100. So this is a real life story. I mean, my own story. So I cannot say that it's not possible. So from a 33% in class 7, I went up to 100. So it is quite possible. So the circumstances were that I was not able to understand the basics in class 7. I got a little bit good guidance, and I worked hard. I said that this should never happen again, and I worked hard and I got 100. Right. So this is a real life example. And so I know there are lots of other students who have done the same. It's nothing great. So the most important thing is to have that perseverance and believe in yourself and get your base right. That's important. So I have a question from Shankar sir, probably from his students: how to revise for the test and exams? So revision for the test, if you are thinking of revision for the test, as I said, there are three things. First is the NCERT thoroughly has to be done, including the solved examples. Then it go through the exemplar questions that is there. And thirdly, is I said that if you are preparing for a test, ask someone to give a test for yourself. Okay. So if you are having a test in the school on, let's say, the first three chapters, you do your revision properly. You have done from NCERT, you have done from exemplar, you may have other reference books. I don't want to name any reference book, but there are so many available. You may do extra questions, or better is that you may do questions which have come in the past 10 years. Okay, that sounds better. I think you do those questions, and then you give a test for yourself. Okay, tomorrow I'm having test on chapter 1, 2, 3. Today I have prepared, so let me give a test on chapter 1, 2, 3. So when I'm giving that test, a self-assessment test, I realize that what are my weaknesses and what are my strong points. So if I'm getting a test out of 50 and I'm getting 40, where are those 10 marks going? Which are the topics? So I exactly know that these are the topics on which I need to work, right? So so this is, I hope I have answered that. Give yourself tests after preparation, because I think that's one part that many students are preparing a lot, but they're not testing themselves. Self-assessment doesn't happen, and then they don't know what is their weak point. The weak point they come to know in the actual exams by the time it's too late, right? So is there any other question besides this? Yeah, so another question I'm getting in the chat is that how many hours should a student study? So this is very, very subjective again. How many hours should a student study? It depends on the student. Okay, so there are some students who will study for 1 hour and 2 hours and still manage to get 90%. There may be some students who will require 5 to 6 hours. So everybody is not equal, right? We all have our different strengths and we all have weakness. So we have to, I cannot say that you study for 2 hours, you study for 3 hours or something. So one thing that I can suggest is that I had another session on this, the 80-20% rule. If you have not seen that, probably that video is going to help you in understanding how to get at least 80%. Okay, so based on certain principles, at least 80% can be scored by all. So that is a different video, that's a different session altogether. If you have not seen that, please do go to my channel and see the video on the 80-20 principle, and you will understand that by spending 20% of your quality time, how to get 80%, right? So 20% of your quality time, in brief, suppose 8 hours you are sleeping, so 16 hours is left, right? So I don't want you to compromise on your sleeping time. So out of the 16, 20%, that is 3.2. So 3.2 hours, if you are ready to spend in self-study and in doing some concrete academic work, then you will definitely get 80%. So I'm not putting a number of 3, 4, 5, 6 for different people, but all I can say at this point of time is minimum 3 hours of study is required. Below that, then forget about 80%, because, and if you're talking about 90 and above 90, then obviously it will take more time, right? Because, and getting 100% is a different ball game altogether. It requires not only time, it also requires aptitude, effort, good guidance, and complete focus. Okay, you cannot afford to get distracted at all. So I think I have more or less answered all the questions that have come to me. So Shankar sir, can we close the session? If you permit me, then I will close the session unless your students have some questions. Yeah, thank you, sir. So I want to again thank Shankar sir for inviting all his students at his place, Gubi online class in Karnataka, and all the other listeners who are listening to this session. So thank you, and I accept this thanks from all. And my dear students, I want you all to score well in the upcoming exams, and I hope that you are going to really excel in your academics, and you have a wonderful mentor with you, Shankar sir, and I'm sure with this guidance you will all reach very good positions in life. So all the best, and thank you, and have a nice day.